evening, everybody. Welcome back to my channel. Thank you all for tuning in. Tonight I want to rank the studio albums from Skid Row from my least favorite to my favorite. So keep in mind, this is just my opinion. I'm positive it is going to be vastly different from your opinion. So bear that in mind. So I'm only going to count the 6 studio albums. I'm not going to count the United World Rebellion EPs. If I did, they'd probably be at the bottom. Not that they're bad, but that's just probably where they would fall for me. So coming in at number 6, at the bottom, I'm going to go with 2003's Thick Skin, first album with Johnny Solinger on lead vocals. I like about half of this album, and the other half I'm not into. First of all, I don't think this really has the Skid Row personality that most of their other albums have. For the most part, there are a couple songs I think feel like Skid Row, but this feels to be like an album that could have been released from any of those popular alternative rock bands from the late 90s, early 2000s. You could throw like Creed and I don't know, just a number of those bands into a blender and get something like this. Ghost, I think, is actually a pretty good song. I think had that been like, say, a Creed song, it probably would have been a hit. It is a pretty catchy little tune. I do like Swallow Me, The Real You, Born a Beggar, Thick as a Skin, See You Around. The second half is where this album really falls off, because really Lamb and Hitting the Wall are the only 2 songs on the back half of this one that I care that much for. I'm not a big fan of New Generation, so this one's pretty hit and miss for me, so I gotta put Thick Skin at the bottom of the barrel. Coming in at number 5, Brace Yourself, the debut album, Skid Row, 1989. I like this one, don't get me wrong. This is the first Skid Row album that I ever owned, and when I bought it and I listened to it, I played it out for 2 months until I bought Slave to the Grind, and then I never quite heard this one the same way again. Still a great album. Very typical hair metal, maybe a little heavier, a little grittier than you would expect from like a late 80s hair metal debut. I never thought this one got off to a tremendously memorable start. Big Guns, it's alright, it's not my favorite song on the album. Sweet Little Sister is probably my least favorite track. Can't Stand the Heartache's okay. But I think it really picks up with Piece of Me, which is the first Skid Row song I ever heard. 18 in Life is great. Youth Gone Wild. Here I Am, one of my favorite deep cuts on here, Making a Mess. I'm a little over I Remember You, but Midnight Tornado is a pretty cool way to close things out here. So the debut album, Sebastian Bach sounds incredible on this one. The debut album for me comes in at number 5. Coming in at number 4, I'm going to go with the brand new one, The Gang's All Here, released in 2022. First of all, I love Eric Gronwall's fit with the band. I thought he sounded like he really rejuvenated this group. He sounds close enough to Sebastian Bach that he does justice to Baz's memory in the band, yet he's still his own singer. A phenomenal singer. His vocals on this album are out of this world. I think the first half of it is just about perfect. I mean, Hell or High Water, it's awesome. The title track's a lot of fun. Not Dead Yet's great. Time Bomb's great. Resurrected is great. Second half, even though I think it tails off a little bit, still has Tear It Down, which is my favorite song on the whole album. So, great comeback for Skid Row. I'm going to put The Gang's All Here in the number 4 spot. Number 3, Brace Yourself. Revolutions Per Minute. Yes, I love this album, and I don't really even know why. I can objectively look at this and tell you this is not a very good album. I totally get why people don't like this. It's all over the place, for one. You kick off with Disease, which I think is a really cool song. I love it. It's a really hard rocking track. Another Dick in the System is kind of the first of the really juvenile songs on here. Tracks like Another Dick in the System, Shut Up Baby I Love You, and White Trash, just really juvenile lyrics. I mean, I always thought it sounded like a sixth grader trying to write lyrics to impress like older kids. It's just bizarre. You have tracks like When God Can't Wait, which is like country metal, but it oddly works for me. I do love the alarm cover, Strength. I do love You Lie, the country song. I like it. Nothing, my favorite song on the album. Love Is Dead, Let It Ride. So yeah, this one's kind of all over the place, but I don't know. It strangely works for me. I've always loved this one. I may be the only one, but hey, revolutions per minute for me is a 3, and it's a solid number 3. But it can't quite match the greatness of my top 2. And this was tough. I do go back and forth between these two a lot, but I think when I really think about it, I gotta put Subhuman Race at number 2. And I love this one. I think this one is a tremendously underrated album. It's less accessible than the first 2 albums, but it's really freaking heavy, and all these songs are just really good. They're growers. I wasn't impressed with this album the first time I heard it, but over time, this one has really grown on me, and there have been times where I've considered this my favorite Skid Row album. My Enemy is awesome. Fire Signs, probably my favorite song on here. You've got songs like Bonehead and Subhuman Race, which have a really punky flavor to them. Of course, you've got a bit of a grunge flavor across this whole thing. Songs like Beat Yourself Blind and Eileen and Frozen, Face Against My Soul, Medicine Jar. It really feels like Skid Row adapting to the times. Breaking Down, great ballad, Into Another, Iron Will. All these songs, really, really good. Some people love it, some people don't. I love it. Subhuman Race is my number 2. But I can't put it over Slave to the Grind. I'm going to put Slave to the Grind at number 1. I think this is just a masterpiece of an album. Band wastes no time maturing from their first album. Not only maturing, but just getting way heavier. I think the lyricism on here is far more mature than on the first album. The first album is very typical of a hair band in the 80s. This one begins to tackle some more thought-provoking subjects. It's much heavier. The title track is bordering on thrash. Sebastian Bach's vocals, I mean, if it's possible for him to top the debut, he does it here. And on songs like Monkey Business and Slave to the Grind and The Threat and Mud Kicker, these really aggressive songs, these heavy songs, he sings with just such attitude and anger and really sells it. But on the flip side of that, the ballads like Quicksand Jesus, Wasted Time, he just has such an incredible delivery that really brings those songs to life. It's just all around a fantastic effort from Skid Row, a masterpiece of an album that I think outside of hard rock and metal fans or outside of Skid Row fans seems to have been forgotten. All of the landmark albums that came out in 1991, like Nevermind and 10 and the Black Album and the Use Your Illusion albums and REM's At a Time and what else came out? There's a Chili Pepper album that came out that year. All these albums, all these great iconic albums that came out in 1991, and this one seems to have been forgotten by the masses, which is a shame because I think it's a brilliant, brilliant album and my favorite from Skid Row. So let me know in the comments below how you would rank the Skid Row catalog. If you like this kind of content, please give me a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel for more videos like this in the future, and I will catch you next time.